I didn't plan my husband's humiliation in a five-star restaurant with a sommelier pronouncing Pinot like a prayer. I wish I could say I'm above that. I'm not. Apparently, I'm extremely average when it comes to pettiness. We all think we're immune until the universe flashes a neon sign over our heads. Try me. I'm Kimberly, 30, Chicago, by way of a dozen brutal deadlines and a shared Google Calendar that used to be our love language. Mike and I were 5 years in, no kids, a condo with a view of a brick wall I insisted was industrial chic, and 2 careers that never stopped tapping our shoulders. We loved each other like people who always meant to have a long weekend, but kept pushing it to after the next launch. If you need to know one thing about me, know this. I collect small proofs of reality. Old checks, warranty cards, screenshots. It makes me feel safe, not happy. Safe. So when my best friend Hannah texted at 11:47 p.m., "Kim, call me, now!" I already had a folder open in my head labeled, "Evidence I don't want." "I just saw him," she said when I called. "He's on the app, active, right now." "Are you sure it's Mike?" I asked, because that's what you ask when you're hoping for a magic trick. Maybe it's someone else who also likes hiking and podcasts and standing next to borrowed yachts? "It's him," she said, voice steady in that steel way she saves for when she's about to defend me from something with teeth. Same jawline, same wrist birthmark, same jacket he thinks is quiet luxury. I didn't swipe. I didn't talk to him, I just saw. Wanted you to know. "Send me the profile," I said, and sat on the edge of the tub like the world had shrunk to tile and steam. A second later, my phone lit up. A man I knew better than myself, curated into a more spontaneous version of the one who leaves dishes to soak. Name tweaked to M, bio, builder, listener, looking for something real. That last word was a stick he'd poked into the internet until it sparkled. Hannah exhaled. "What do you want me to do?" "Nothing," I said, hearing my voice from somewhere higher than normal. "You did enough. I'm watching." Here's where I'm supposed to choose wisdom. Confront him, hold a mirror to our busyness, start couples therapy, relearn the geography of us. The truth is uglier and a little funny. The petty part of me took the wheel like it had been waiting its whole life. I didn't want a conversation about just browsing. I wanted a clean cinematic line across his story. Cut to consequences. So I made Anna. Anna fit the exact hole he poured himself into. 29. Hospitality staff on a cruise line, between contracts. So sorry, video calls are a mess at sea and my front camera's glitchy. Salt air. Photos, stock, but good. Sun-caught, soft, plausible in the way that suggests a friend with a DSLR. Bio, soft spot for ambitious men. Recovering people-pleaser. Looking for kindness and laughter. If you're wondering how Anna was different from me, she was me minus the sharp edges. She smiled more, apologized more, praised men for fetching their own water. She did not argue about budgets or ask how the product roadmap handled the Q3 dip. She thought strategy was sexy and meetings sounded like faraway storms. We matched in 7 minutes. He messaged first. "Hey Anna, love your smile. You seem like you actually listen?" "I try," I typed, hands shaking. People are complicated, but they're not impossible. Day 1, he established context. "My ex and I, it was a mismatch," he wrote. "Career came first for her. I felt invisible." Day 2, he scaled it. "I rushed it. I regret marrying her. We were never soulmates. I stay honest about that now." Reader, he was still married. To me. Day 3, he tested the softness. "You're not like her. I can already tell. You make space for me. It's easy to breathe with you." Anna fed the part of him that wanted to be the protagonist. "Ambition looks good on you," I wrote. "But being seen looks better." He bloomed. Men love feeling like the main character. Honestly, most people do. And if you're wondering whether I felt sick watching him invent my absence while I stood 5 feet away in our kitchen reheating soup, yes, I did. He asked for a video call. "Between ports," I wrote. "Ship internet is a joke. Also, my front camera's glitching." He accepted without a hiccup. If a man wants to believe you, your excuses arrive pre-approved. By day 5, he'd built a personality for his ex, me, that would make strangers side with him. She's intense, he said, always presenting. Even at home, it's like slides. And she can't cook to save her life. Everything is quinoa and judgment. Comfort food is my love language, Anna wrote. Simple, warm, heavy on butter. God, he replied. That sounds like a hug I can eat. And that's when the gremlin inside me clapped its tiny hands. That night, as Kimberly, the alleged ex who lived in his condo and knew his Amazon password, I made a meal that could feed a minor league team. Pot roast with gravy, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, cornbread, mac and cheese, roasted carrots glazed like sin, and a pie cooling on the sill like a Norman Rockwell painting had a baby with Pinterest. What's all this? Mike asked, blinking at the spread like it might request an interview. You said you missed real food, I chirped. I had a window between meetings. He ate like a man being deposed under oath. Every time he put his fork down, I slid another plate in front of him with the smile of a flight attendant insisting turbulence is fun. He kept saying, "Wow, babe," and "This is a lot." And I kept saying, "I just want to make you feel seen." If there is a god of petty, she high-fived me that night and then shook her head. I boxed leftovers into Tupperware with labels so aggressive they read like extended captions, mac and cheese, piping hot domesticity, cornbread, in case your soul needs carbs. He took them to work the next day and texted a single fork emoji. I took it as a confession. Here's what changed at home while he was busy falling for my invention. He started smiling into his phone the way people smile at magic tricks. Little private grins that never ask the room for permission. The couch became two countries, my side with an open laptop, his side with a screen he kept half tilted away. He said it was memes from the product guys, or fantasy football, or a wild Reddit thread about airline points. The more specific the excuse, the bigger the lie. He flipped the phone face down when he went to the bathroom. He silenced notifications at dinner. When a buzz slipped through, he tapped quickly and locked the screen like he'd just caught a housefly. I started cataloging the micro-evasions. Work chat, my cousin Kyle, weird scam number. The group text is unhinged tonight. Once, I asked casually, "Who's cracking you up?" And he said, "Nobody. It's about the Bulls." And changed the subject to a YouTube video about a guy restoring rusty tools. We watched a man buff a wrench for 12 minutes. I counted his laughs and saved them in a jar labeled Exhibit A, Audible Joy at Non-U. He started staying up later, the blue light painting his face like a cheap halo. I'd fall asleep to the sound of his thumbs, tiny, secretive tap-taps. At 2:11 a.m., I woke to a muffled chuckle and the soft ping of a voice note arriving. He was careful, he wore headphones, but the body knows when it's been replaced by an elsewhere. My chest hurt like it had swallowed a stone. When he reached for me in the mornings, the ritual that used to be sweet, kiss on the forehead, coffee scent, the brush of his stubble, made my jaw lock. I learned that revulsion can be quiet and practical, like a new rule. He'd lean down, and I'd sense the lie on his breath, and I'd turn my face as if to grab my phone. I started saying things like, "Oh shoot, I have an early stand-up," to dodge his mouth. The worst part? Sometimes I let him kiss my temple anyway, out of habit. Then I'd sit on the edge of the bed after he left and cry into a sweatshirt, careful to make no sound, like I didn't want to wake the better version of us who might still be sleeping somewhere. A few nights, the crying wouldn't wait. It came with a shiver, my body's way of broadcasting error. I learned to cry in the shower because faucets are loyal. Water took my side at least. I'd brace my hands on the tile and think, he's laughing into his phone on our couch and calling me his ex to a stranger who is me. The absurdity and the ache kept trading places like bad improv partners. He started changing how he asked questions. Instead of, "How was your day?" he began with, "Crazy day for me," and then listed his. He hugged me from behind while glancing at the counter where his phone lay face down, like affection had an asterisk. When I said, "Want to go for a walk?" he'd check his screen and say, "Rain check? I promised Kyle I'd help him with his resume." Which was sweet, except Kyle's resume had been updated 3 weeks ago, I knew because I updated it. If I asked directly, "Are you talking to someone?" he'd scoff and say, "Can we not do this?" I'm exhausted. Then pivot to a topic he knew I loved. New ceramic cookware drops. He weaponized Le Creuset. Reader, it worked twice. The worst domestic moment wasn't the phone smiling or the flipped-over screen. It was the night he kissed the top of my head before work. A soft, automatic thing, and I flinched so hard my neck popped. "You okay?" he asked, pausing at the door, and I said, "Yeah, tight neck." And he said, "You should book a massage." And I thought, I should book a lawyer. Back in the app, day 7 brought the confessional. "I envy men who marry their best friend," he typed. "I chose wrong. With you, it's instant, like the universe finally letting me exhale. I know this sounds crazy, but I think you might be my soulmate." There it was, weaponized romance. The word he kept in his pocket for when he wanted absolution. "You deserve ease," Anna wrote. And truth. We developed rhythms. He liked when Anna sent small domestic sentences. "Just made tea. Ship smells like oranges tonight." He responded with gallant tenderness. "You're adorable. I want to protect that." He liked stories where Anna was almost hurt by something trivial, spilled coffee, stubbed toe, a man in the corridor who was rude, and he could swoop in with empathy. I gave him rescuable moments. He gave me the plot of our demise. We talked about music. He said his ex mocked his playlists. I had made 3 of them. About what makes a home, he said his ex treated their place like a hotel. I had negotiated our rent down. About family, he said his ex didn't want kids until it was convenient. We had decided together to wait while our job stopped screaming. He told Anna he liked women who laugh with their whole face, and I practiced laughing in the mirror to see what the difference looked like. Turns out the difference was me believing it. He never mentioned a wife. He mentioned an ex like I was a warning label, career obsessed, can't cook, cold. And then he'd write to Anna, "You're not like her. You listen. You're soft. You make me want to be better." Day 9, logistics. "Let me see you in person. Next Friday, I'll book somewhere nice then. Wear the red dress from your photo." I love that shot. We agreed. No weird poetry about women who wear red. Just, he liked that picture. He wanted that dress. Between chats, he curated grievances. He told Anna he hated being the only one who tried, that his ex would rather win at work than make a home. He sent voice notes in a lower, softer register. "You're not like her, Anna. With you, I could be enough." He didn't mention a wife, a lease, or the fact that his ex knew where he hid the emergency cash. Hannah knew because I told her. Then I swore her to secrecy so completely she started whispering into her kettle instead of her phone. "I support you," she said, like a prayer for a gentler road. "But Kim, what's the endgame?" "Red," I said without thinking. "It ends in red." I almost stopped once, right after a chat where he described our wedding as a well-produced mistake. I stared at my ring and felt this tidal embarrassment for both of us. That could have been the moment where I chose mercy, took off the ring, booked a therapist, and said, "I'm done." I even packed a tote and put it by the door with spectacular main character energy. Then he texted, "You're not like her," and called a stranger his soulmate. Something inside me clicked like a safety being turned off. I unpacked the tote. I put on lipstick. I typed, "Friday works." At home, Mike became polite. That's the word. Excessively, conspicuously polite, like he'd watched a tutorial on Husband 2.0 and refused to skip ads. "How are your meetings?" he'd ask with the attentiveness of an actor reading cue cards. "Do you have everything you need for your presentation?" He cleaned the counters with religious zeal, all wipe and no gaze. He complimented a blouse I had worn 200 times, which made me glance down like I'd spilled something. He offered to take out the trash with the solemnity of an oath. The performance had the shape of love without the weight. At night, he sat at the far end of the couch. If my knee touched his by accident, he'd jolt and then pretend he thought the cat brushed past. We don't have a cat. I began to narrate my life to myself like a documentary about a woman in a slow-motion disaster. Here we see the subject preparing rigatoni in vodka sauce, heavy cream as metaphor, while the male of the species communicates silently with a device that offers companionship free of dishes. I would have laughed if the shower hadn't asked me to cry again. The morning kiss rule hardened into ritual. He'd lean in, and I'd turn away like I was checking the weather app. When he left, the door's click would land like a period. I'd sit on the edge of the bed, rub the heel of my hand over my sternum, and measure the space between who we were and what I was about to do. If you think revenge feels powerful, yes, sometimes. But mostly it felt like getting ready for a job I was overqualified for and morally unfit to perform. The day before the dinner, he texted Anna, "I can't wait. I've never felt something line up like this. You're the first person who makes me think I chose wrong and might still have a chance to choose right." He sent a photo of the restaurant confirmation, a little flex. I wanted to reply, "You chose wrong twice, but Anna doesn't bite. She purrs." I booked a blowout. I picked a red dress cousin to Anna's, close enough to light up his lizard brain, different enough to keep me from feeling like I'd transformed entirely into a prop. I wore the perfume he once called dangerous in the best way, which sounded less romantic after realizing he probably copy-pasted the line. I looked in the mirror and thought, "You're about to play the villain and the victim and the audience." Then I thought, if you must, commit. When I arrived, the hostess smiled like my night would go well. I wanted to ask if she had a script for when a wife shows up to her husband's date. I wanted to ask if she'd seen worse. I was shaking so badly I could have stirred martinis at 6 tables. "Table for 2, I said, under mic. "Of course," she said, and because restaurants are built on silence and drama, she led me through rows of faces that would later pretend not to have watched. There he was, already seated, playing with the stem of his glass in the way that made me weirdly fond even when I wanted to throw him in a ravine. He looked up. His smile started. It continued. It failed. "Hi," I said, and sat. My parents almost named me Anna, but they stopped at Kimberly. The silence wasn't silent. It had the thrum of a trapped bee. Mike went pale, then pink, then something between that looked like bad wallpaper. "Kim," he said, "because what else do you say when your wife is also the myth you'd planned to prove?" "Yes," I said. "Anna sends her regrets. The Wi-Fi on her ship is so unreliable." "Is this a joke?" he asked. Behind him, the sommelier hovered, eager to tell us about notes of leather and smoke. "Oh, it's comedy," I said. "Black comedy, with elements of drama." "This is insane," he muttered. "You catfished me." "You were fishing to be caught," I said. "I just put the right bait." He glanced around. The room was a gallery of suddenly fascinated strangers who had trained their eyes on their forks. The waiter arrived to take our order, and I let Mike speak, because people like Mike love stages, even when the play is about their own bad choices. We're not staying," he said. "We are," I corrected, surprised at my own calm. "We're going to sit and have a conversation in public because that's the only way to keep it clean. Also, you told a woman to wear a red dress tonight. It would be a shame to waste the symbolism." The waiter blinked. "Still or sparkling?" "Sparkling," I said. "If I'm going to be petty, I'm going to be hydrated." We ordered. Mike ordered badly, which felt like a metaphor. He tried to retake the narrative. "You tricked me," he said again, as if repetition could change the moral geometry. "You lied to her," I said. "You told Anna you were single. You called me your ex. For the record, the law still calls me your wife." "I didn't." "You did," I said, soft enough to sting. "I have the messages. She's obsessed with her career. She can't cook. I regret marrying her. She's not my soulmate. You're not like her, Anna." Ring a bell? He put his face in his hands. Around us, cutlery made music. The sommelier returned to recite the wine's journey from a hillside that had never met anyone like us. "It rewards patience?" he said. I almost laughed. "I felt less," Mike said finally, eyes shiny. "You're always winning, Kim. I'm always behind. With her. With you, Anna. I felt chosen. I almost stopped, I admitted, right after you called our wedding a well-produced mistake. I was going to pack a bag and leave an adult note, and then you said, "You're not like her," and called a stranger your soulmate. So I chose theater. "I'm sorry," he said, because there was nothing else. In the corner, a birthday cake emerged and the staff sang. It felt obscene and perfect. "Let's be adults," I said. "You're going to leave, but not with her because she doesn't exist. You're leaving because the person you needed to become to be happy with me is not the person you chose to be, and the person I'd have to become to stay with you after this, she isn't real either." He swallowed. "Kim, we'll handle the condo and accounts and the electric kettle like two people who once meant it," I said. "But tonight you're going to pick up the check. Consider it closing night for Red Dress, a cautionary tale." He nodded, slow, like a boat noticing the current too late. We ate in a silence with edges. He didn't run. I didn't cry. That almost felt like a miracle. When the bill came, he signed with a shaking hand. The pen left a score on the paper like he'd carved an apology in a language only waiters understand. Outside, the air slapped us clean. He started to speak and I raised a hand. "You can talk to my lawyer," I said. "And, Mike, you asked Anna to wear red? I wore it for me?" He looked at me like that was the cruelest part. Maybe it was. Maybe the kindest part of vengeance is how it teaches you you're not the hero either. Hannah waited in a rideshare half a block away, engine on, eyes wide as the lake in February. "Well?" she asked, then scanned my face like she was cataloging damage. "I did it," I said, ridiculous pride and ache braided in my throat. "I actually did it." "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I ordered dessert and forgot I'm lactose intolerant," I said, and she laughed too hard because that's what you do to keep the rest from spilling. "He's going to leave. We're going to break it all into pieces. And I'm going to sleep for a week." "He's an idiot," she said. "He's human," I answered, surprising both of us. "So am I." We drove. The city brightened and blurred, making me feel both anonymous and seen. My phone buzzed. Anna's profile. A new message from a stranger. "You seem kind. Want to chat?" I deleted the app, the photos, the fake bio, and the little room in my head I'd rented to a woman made of compliments and salt air. The relief hurt. I grieved Anna a little. She was the softest version of me. She was also a lie built on another lie. The next weeks were a parade of logistics dressed as grief. You learn who you are by how you sign your name on official documents. I was efficient. He was remorseful. We were civil. Our mutual friends split like tiny countries choosing alliances. The couple group chat renamed itself from Taco Tuesdays to Taco and Friends and then quietly died. Someone asked who gets the Peloton. Neither of us wanted the Peloton. We bartered absurdities. He took the air fryer. I kept the Dutch oven. He wanted the linen duvet. I said no on principle. We argued tenderly about the espresso machine, a metaphysical debate over who needed ritual more. I won, then realized I drink tea. He moved into a coworker's place for a month. The condo felt like a movie set after the crew packs up. Shapes with no scenes. I put the red dress on a velvet hanger and hung it on the closet door like a flag I wasn't sure I deserved. I started sleeping through the night again, except when I didn't. Some evenings I'd catch myself reaching for my phone to check if he was online. Habit is a stern teacher. And then I'd remember the app was gone and sit with my own pulse. A small scandal bloomed when a diner posted a performative thread about a wild scene at Jacquard, the kind of viral that lasts 8 hours and turns strangers into experts on your soul. I read it once and scrolled away. I didn't want public validation for a private failure, even if the black comedy part of me appreciated the headline. Woman catfishes, husband into courting her, orders the lobster anyway. Someone said I was a queen, someone said I was a monster. The truth, obviously, was that I was neither and both, depending on the lighting. We sat in a mediator's office and said the sentences the state needs to convert love into paperwork. Irreconcilable differences is a phrase that feels both too big and too small. He apologized in a way that sounded like a man out of breath. I accepted in a way that sounded like a woman who has learned to close drawers. We talked about the condo deposit, the cost of movers, the box of photographs that belonged to no one and everyone. We divided our future into two smaller ones. I kept the kettle. I wish I could say I felt triumphant. I felt tidy. Some nights I woke up panicked I'd become someone I wouldn't want to meet. Other nights I slept like a stone. Grief is boring in its variants. Hannah and I built new rituals. Wednesday ramen. Saturday runs where we pretended we liked the running part. We held hands once at a crosswalk like teenagers in a rom-com because the street was icy and we were fragile and it felt good to be held without subtext. I bought a red dress I will never wear on a date again. It belongs to a version of me I retired. I hang it where I'll see it and remember. Stories have acts, consequences, and curtain calls. I'm capable of writing, producing, and starring in something I'm not sure I'd recommend. Months later, I saw Mike in a grocery store, both of us staring at the same brand of olive oil like it might tell us how to be. We said hello the way adults do, careful, brief. He looked better than the last time, which irritated me and then didn't. He asked if I was okay. I said yes. He said he was too. He glanced at the red peppers in my basket and half smiled like a man who had been a fool and also a husband. "Good color on you," he said. I laughed and let it land like a truce. On the way home, rain trapped me in my car. The world went glossy and forgiving. I said my restaurant line out loud. My parents almost named me Anna, and it sounded like a different woman, one I had needed to become to cross a bridge to this one. I used to think the worst pain is the big dramatic kind, the slammed door, the shouted accusation, the cinematic betrayal. But the body keeps a different ledger. It tracks the micro things. The 2-second delay before he looks up when you say his name. The way the kiss moves from mouth to temple to air. The phone turned face down. The laugh aimed at a small screen. The midnight voice note he thinks you can't hear. It remembers the shower tiles against your palms and the way you taught yourself to cry without sound because you're a considerate person even toward the version of him that hurt you. It remembers the first morning you didn't flinch. The morning the kiss didn't come. The morning you poured your own coffee and didn't grieve the empty second cup. The morning you realized revenge had been a bridge, not to him, but to the shore where you could stand and tell the truth. If you're reading for a moral, here's mine. Revenge does not restore balance. It teaches you angles. It does not heal. It cauterizes. There's a difference. But sometimes, cauterizing is the only way to stop the bleeding long enough to walk out of the room. When I wear red now, it's for no one but me. That might not be healing, but it's honest.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and explore our channel for more love, betrayal, and redemption tales.